1. Some backstory. I was 16 at the time it all took place, at my first geek convention. I was there as an exhibitor with my HEMA club, Historically European Martial Arts. We were showing off our club to try and get new members. This happened on the second day of the convention, but I had noticed a neckbeard around our table watching us sparring. But he didn't come up and ask anything, so there was nothing to say about him in the first day. Though he did have a bit of a weird expression during the fights, in which I or my clubs, the only other girl, Kate, same age as me, were fighting. There are a couple of important things to note. 1. It was hot as hell. I mostly walked and hung around in my sports bra. 2. Our club's other members are men, all over 20, some in their 40s, who treat me and Kate as their little sisters. 3. Right before the story starts, I was in a fight with one of our elder members and got my wrist hit pretty bad. It was with a metal polish saber, so it hurt so bad I dropped my sword. The coach, from now on referred to as TC, benched me for the day and went to get ice for me as everyone else continued sparring. Alas, this is where the story begins. While everyone else was sparring, I took off my sparring jacket and was left in my sports bra. I went over to our table. We kept our swords and equipment there so people could look at it and ask questions. I have to note that I had noticed the NB's eyes on me, but I didn't meet his gaze. At this moment I was the only one at our table, or everyone was sparring or just hanging around by there to answer questions and keep people at a distance from the fighters. And overall putting on a good show for the people. And TC was still getting me ice. There wasn't really anybody around the table, so I just stood lost in thought, while holding a cold sword to my wrist, which was a bit blue and beginning to look a bit bigger than it should be. And then I smelt him. The stink will always be in my memory. Even though I myself was a bit sweaty and I was surrounded by sweaty and stinky equipment, the stink he gave off burned through it all. He had it all, the full package, the body pillow in his arm, the fedora on his head, the complete and utter absence of hygiene, the stained cargo shorts, and the weird AF button down with the anime shirt under it. But alas, I was young and naive. I had no clue what was going to happen. He came up and looked around our table, trying on a fencing mask we had on the table. After that we sterilized as much as we could, but the mask even after 2 years is known to be the cursed mask. He looked around a bit and then scoffed. I didn't really get why, so I asked, "Do you have any questions?"
Yes. Could you tell me why you don't have the great sword put out?"
I'm a bit confused and thinking he means a great sword. "We do have a great sword, it's right there." I point to the sword, which is taller than me.
No. I mean the most classy sword a gentleman such as myself can use. I of course mean a katana.
Oh, our club actually doesn't have a katana because we put emphasis on European. He kind of scoffed again and continued to look around. He picked up a long sword and was holding it wrong, so I told him how he should correctly hold it, not realizing this would be my biggest mistake.
"I think I know how to hold the sword, my dear, as I have studied the blade for many years."
He was about 20 or 25. "Well then, you didn't do it well, because you're holding it in a way I could break your hand in one hit."
"Well, if you know so much, you should also know that this sword is too light. It should be at least 10 kilograms.
A normal longsword is about 1.5 kilograms. "Well, no, because if it was so heavy you couldn't fight with it. It would hurt your wrist, and not to mention, you could swing it once and not lift it up again."
"Maybe a lady such as yourself wouldn't be able, because you are too weak and fragile. It obviously was the man's job to fight and protect a dame like you."
"Again, you are wrong. No man could fight with it."
"Well, maybe not any man you know, but I have self-taught the art of the blade and could protect a lady such as yourself from such ungentlemanly people as the men in your club, who even let you fight against them. Do they not know that you should always let a lady win? When I saw you drive the sword, I was so worried about you. I wanted to go in the ring and do the same thing he did to you to him."
God, I wish he had. It would have been so much fun watching his ass being handed to him.
"You should be protected from such things."
At this, he was starting to put the long sword back on the table. I didn't say anything because I honestly just wanted him to leave. I went to take the sword from him, when he grabbed my hand and tried to kiss it. The one that was injured. I jumped in pain and tried getting my hand back as I didn't want it anywhere near his face. What I hadn't noticed was that TC had returned and everyone was coming back from sparring. This meant that NB was surrounded by 12 people who are not too happy about me obviously looking scared and him hurting me, with swords and knowledge on how to use them. Well, sadly he did place a kiss on my hand, and as he released it, I quickly pulled it back and stepped away from him. What I didn't know was that my coach was now behind me, holding my shoulders. He isn't a really big scary dude, but the anger in his eyes was enough for the NB to realize that he should run. And as NB tried to make a fast exit, he was met by others at my club, not looking too happy. He ran quicker than I think he'd ever ran. He didn't show for the rest of the convention, and luckily my wrist wasn't broken. So I thought about just skinning the part of my hand he touched. I told my club the full story and we had a laugh. I wasn't left alone for the rest of the convention, and TC did escort me around the convention in fear that the NB might try something. But overall I had a fun time at the convention, and we have been going to it in the following years and gotten a lot of new members that way. Thankfully none of them neckbeards. 2. This story took place a few years ago when me and my identical twin sister worked at an arcade in a tourist area. We were cashiers, and the neckbeard in question was supposed to repair broken machines and run the attractions at the arcade. I say supposed to because this guy spent most of his working hours hiding in the basement watching anime on his phone and playing on his PSP. He would brag about it to us cashiers because we couldn't slack off like him. My sister and I like video games and other nerdy stuff. My sister is the more social of the two of us, and she became friends with him. He asked her for her number, and she told him she was engaged. My sister, being the troll that she is, sometimes told him that I was single. This is when the beard tried engaging me in conversation. However, I mostly played single-player RPGs at the time, and he would beg me to play online with him, and told me I wasn't a real gamer unless I played online. He also asked me for my number and my Facebook profile, and I said something like I don't date co-workers or something like that. He found me on Facebook anyways. A few days later I started dating someone, and my co-worker came up to me and started interrogating me. So I heard you were dating someone, is this true? Yeah. Your sister told me he's not a gamer, is that true? Yeah, he likes four-wheeling and being outdoors and working on his truck. There's no way this relationship is going to work. You totally need to date someone like me, a fellow gamer. He's not going to appreciate your nerdy side. Besides, there's not enough nerdy girls out there for guys like me. I have a hard time finding a girlfriend because of it, and you go off and date some hick. Don't be shallow. He's not a hick, we do have different hobbies, but I like the fact that I am enjoying new things. We get to share our interests with each other. He's gonna break your heart anyways. Guys like him are always jerks. After this, he stormed off and hid in the basement for the rest of the day. Whenever I radioed him to fix a broken machine, he would ignore it, and this caused several customers to get upset and yell at me. He stopped shaving and grew a patchy pubic hair-looking chin beard and called it his depression beard. He would loudly complain all the time that he couldn't get a girlfriend. He would often ask my sister if I had gotten the common sense to dump my boyfriend yet. He deleted me off his Facebook. I left that job for work somewhere where I would be using my college education. And he got fired later on for throwing a temper tantrum and breaking a door because he was told to stop watching videos on his phone at work and banned from bringing his PSP with him. Years later, and I married that hick, and we have a beautiful daughter. 3. I am trans, female to male, but this happened when I was 14 and not fully sure to show my true gender. I also still cosplay as both genders. For names, OP is Yuk, friend is Mia, Neckbeard is Neckbeard. At the time, I had just moved to a town on the American West Coast. I was elated and just starting high school, and the town I live in is big on conventions, parties, etc. I'm a big fan of most fandoms, so at a young age I got into cosplaying and into conventions. So in my first month of moving, for my early 15th birthday, my mom got me tickets to a convention in Las Vegas, in driving distance. I was so elated that I decided to redo and freshen up a cosplay I did a few months before. I decided to do Bumblebee, one of my favorite Doom Patrol characters in comics. I finished 2 days before the convention, so I also bought some fake wings and some roller skates to see more flying. Now, I'm a bit overdeveloped for my age. I'm taller, a bit more chesty, which recently I've started binding, and I'm curvier, so I can easily pass for around 18 or 19. When the convention started, the guard at the front actually had to double-check my ID to make sure I didn't get a kid's pass for the discounts. First day of the convention, I'm super happy, and I'm with my mom, who is just as excited as I am. We're there for hours, buying shit, watching competitions, at signing panels, and we never once stopped for the bathroom. My mom had to go after a while, but she permitted me to stay in a line for a keychain I wanted because of how long the lines were. I agreed and quietly hummed as the line continued. About 4 minutes later, I had gotten tired of the long line and walked off. I didn't think much of the two moving until my nose was assaulted with a smell, like Doritos that had been boiled down in Axe deodorant and Mountain Dew, left under a porch for 3 months, and then a dog ate and threw it up. It was nasty, and it overpowered the honey perfume I had used that day. It was awkward for 2 minutes. The guy was way too close, and I was trying to not cry from the scent. That is, until I felt 2 hands on my hips. Luckily enough, it was my turn. I quickly bought the keychain and jogged off to an area near the front of the bathrooms to wait. I had taken a few pictures with people, as often cosplayers did that, and I forgot about the guy. My mom came out of the bathrooms and we went to the minor competition I was going to participate in. When we arrived, my mom went to go sit in the audience and I went to hang out with a few kids. We had an area for people to take pictures and or interact with us for more exposure. And in the few minutes, guess what I smelled? The guy who I smelled before walked up and honestly looked like a basic neckbeard. He was tall, 6 to 6'4", wearing an Ayago hoodie, with Cheeto dust and soda stains, a black trench coat covered in questionable white stains, some too-tight red spandex pants which didn't cover his peaking overhang, a bad comb-over, and the all-famous neckbeard. He stomped over and demanded pictures from every kid after skipping 10 or so people. But when he came over to me, he tried to kiss me for a picture, and place his hand under my skirt and on my ass. I freaked out and pushed him away, exclaiming that I was under 15. Instead of being a normal adult who would apologize or back away, he grabbed me by the arm and whispered a bit too close to my neck, "Perfect time to start training you to be my wife." I screamed without seeing that a friend of mine, Mia, had already ran off to get security. Some 16-year-old boy started to wrestle the guy away from me, and a minute or so later, some security and my mom ran in. The guy started to scream, saying stuff like, "Don't separate me from my lovely wife," or, "She's my soulmate." Apparently he had been following me after I left, but didn't talk to me until I separated from my mom. He was arrested for assault on a minor, banned from the convention, and I was given a free pass to the convention for all 3 days. I got second place for the competition. I also found out that the guy's sentence of 4 years with probation was tripled, because on probation, he went to a convention and assaulted another underage cosplayer. Guys, cosplay isn't consent. 4. So backstory. I'm 18, just started college and took up German as an elective. Same elective that our beloved Neckbeard took up. This neckbeard, Alex, isn't really a neckbeard, more of a creep, apart from the god-awful acne on his face and powerful body odor. Alex, as well as I, studies hospitality management. During the first week of classes, I was pretty shy and timid, and didn't sit next to anyone because I didn't know anyone. But one day Alex comes up to me and asks, "Hey, beautiful." This comment isn't really off-putting, as people in Hong Kong say this often in a joking manner, and as a greeting. "Is this seat taken?" I smiled and said no, and that he could be seated. Class was boring that day, and he'd chat with me whenever he could. Honestly, at the time, I didn't mind, because I thought he was being friendly. As the weeks progressed, whenever we have classes, which was every weekday, he would almost always sit next to me, and our classmates have started to notice as well. Some classmates, who eventually became friends, told me that it was very obvious that he had a crush on me. After hearing this, I started to take note of what Alex does when in class. One time I wore a crop top to school. One thing to note is that I have a navel piercing and a tattoo along my rib and waist. In class, I raised my hand to ask a question to the lecturer, which caused my top to ride up a bit. Buddy Alex was there, not hiding the fact that he was ogling me up and down. Other than those instances, I've caught him taking pictures of me while I was napping. One where I was up an escalator with a pencil skirt. Also during group presentations, since we study hospitality management, one of our lecturers prefers us wearing professional attire, meaning blazer, pencil skirt, stockings, blah blah, because it's more professional. I bring up stockings because while waiting for our group to present, Alex sees me rubbing my thigh. 1, because they were cold, and 2, because I like the feeling of my hands rubbing against the stocking. Alex asks why I was doing that, so I explained. Big mistake. He then proceeds to shamelessly ask if he could rub my thigh. I was so shocked I just shut up and waited for our turn to present. In the middle of the semester, it was very clear that he liked me, but it was also very clear that I don't reciprocate his feelings. I've told him that I only see him as a friend, and that I am more comfortable with us being just friends. Still doesn't process the thoughts in his brain, and still continue to prey on me. At that point, I was tired of his antics. He'd call me to ask what our assignments were when our class group chat clearly already said what it was. At the same time, I was fiddling around on Tinder and chatted with a guy on the app. We talked here and there, and I mentioned how Alex kept pestering me and how my college is pretty spacious and cool. The guy, we'll call him C, while interested in visiting me at my school, was also willing to help me get rid of Alex by pretending to be my boyfriend. So the day comes when C visits me at school. I introduced C with my friends and we ate together at the usual spot where we ate our lunch. Alex comes over with a smile as he spots me, but it quickly disappeared when he sees C next to me. I was bumping shoulders jokingly. For the rest of the lunch period, Alex remained sulky and left me alone that day. And that day only. In comes the announcement of our last group assignment before semester break. Alex kept begging me to have him in my group. 1, because the whole assignment had to be in English, a language he was absolute shit in, and 2, because I was fluent in English. I was pretty reluctant because last time we were grouped together, I did 80% of the work and he did things very last minute, or not even doing things at all. But still, like the pushover I am, I still took him in. Result? I asked on the group chat to give me a time of day that they're all free, and to respond before a certain day or else I'll be switching to another group. Sure enough, chat was completely silent. Dipped out of the group, and I was sure this made Alex mad. Not only could he not depend on me and free ride through the assignment, but also when the day came for us to do the assignment presentation, when I was looking through the classroom door to watch his new group, I'm surprised he even took him in, present, he saw me glancing at their PowerPoint and flipped me off. Don't know what his deal was, but okay. We saw each other a couple of times after that, but he was absolutely silent around me and my friend. I think I finally got rid of him. Yay! But too bad that he doesn't want to talk to me. I could have reminded him that his German written assignment was way overdue. Guess he'll just have to fail. P.S. Me and C are now dating. I think this was what set Alex off. 5. So I have a close friend. Let's call him J. J resembles a neckbeard. He struggles with his weight. He sweats quite a bit, both because of his weight and because he's on some medications. And he has a beard that does tend to drift a bit down to the neck area. However, while J resembles a neckbeard and while he's a massive nerd, he's not remotely like one in personality. An important thing to note is that while Jay and I are close, we aren't dating. He has a girlfriend currently living in a different state while she attends university. Jay and I hang out on occasion, which is usually fine. However, the fact that someone like me, a reasonably attractive female who loves a variety of nerdy things, and has a bubbly and kind personality, is happy hanging out with someone who resembles a neckbeard can sometimes give other neckbeards ideas. Jay and I were at the cinema to watch Spider-Man Far From Home. We were having a fun chat about the MCU, our knowledge of the Spider-Man comics, where we wanted the MCU to go in Stage 4, and so on. About 10 minutes into our chat, I smelled the rank stench of body odor, dirty sneakers. unwashed clothes, and general lack of self-care. Q our Neckbeard, or N for short. He was hovering off to one side, fedora and all, in a Spider-Man t-shirt that hadn't seen a washing machine since Tobey Maguire was swinging around New York. He stuck around for a while longer until Jay left to go to the bathroom. Then he struck. At first, N played it reasonably normal, if somewhat socially inept. Complimented me on my Black Panther shirt, discussed Endgame, talked about other nerdy things, the usual. But then he got weird. We compared seats. He was in the front row, Jay and I were in the middle area. He acted all sympathetic that we were so far back. Really, I prefer sitting a bit back, since sitting too close strains my eyes. Then N pulled out a second ticket. I don't know if he had a friend that didn't show up, or if he bought two hoping to find a milady to accompany him. However, he was really pushing for me to leave Jay and sit with him. I politely refused again and again while waiting with less and less patience for Jay to return. Then N came out with a line that I'm never going to forget.
It's sweet of you to pay so much attention to someone so far below your own caliber. But honestly, such a delicate little gem like you should be with someone who won't abandon her. Someone who can be counted on to defend her.
And then he tried to stroke my hair. Wrong move. See, I play D&D, and I play a bard. My favorite spell is Vicious Mockery. It's given me a lot of chances to learn how to improvise some truly fantastic insults. It took me about half a second to get right into N's personal space. As close as Jay, who returned from the bathroom to watch the showdown, and I can recall, my response to him was as follows. If you don't get out of my space and leave me the fuck alone, you absolute dumpster fire, I will take that filthy hat off your head and shove it so far up your own ass, you'll have to make a deal with Mephisto to get it out. And how dare you act like you're in any way better than Jay, considering he has a girlfriend and you get your rocks off harassing people at the movies. I was cut off there from the manager who arrived to deal with the three of us, considering that plenty of people had seen Anne hanging all over me when I was clearly uncomfortable. It was agreed that I was provoked. It was also pretty undeniable that I was the aggressor at the end. The manager decided that as long as N stayed in his seats and we stayed in ours, we could all watch the movie. And stay in his seat N did. The only times he looked back towards Jay and I, there was more than a little fear in his eyes, and it was gratifying to see. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Neckbeards in the Wild, number 38. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. And I believe I have a little shout out to give. Oh, there we go. I had this organized earlier. There we are. A shout out to Squishy Cutie, who was our cosplayer friend in story number 3. Thank you kindly, Squishy Cutie. I like that name. Okay, I'm going to wrap up there. I expect a stream will probably happen tonight at some point, if it didn't happen yesterday. And with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.